Okay, I think it's time. We will start the meeting and wait for the rest of them to join. Shall we, Divakar?
Yes, TG.
Okay, yeah, fine, great. So let's start with few people here who are so keen and interested to know more about the book club as well as this book, The Psychology of Money. First, a little bit of introduction to this book club itself. So what we do is every month we choose one book, we hero a book, and then discuss about the concepts that are there in the book from different viewpoints and try to get the maximum out of this book. So this is what the book club is all about. It's the journals are a wide variety of journals. It's not fixed to one particular journal. So these are all some of the books that we have covered in the past for about 2.5 years so far. You could see predominantly it may be towards the business book and personal development, and some of the books are on spirituality and history and those kind of books. Limitless is what we covered last the last book that we covered. Freakonomics and Alchemist, and there are many more books to come, and I put these marks because the books are decided by the members of what interests them, what is more applicable to them at that point of time in their life, and we take up those kind of books and then we discuss. We generally find, and we have also experienced that the more and more we discuss about these books, the knowledge or the wisdom that we gain out of what the book says is much more, because it's not just one viewpoint that we are having from the book, that multiple viewpoints about the same concept throws up a lot more aspects about the book. So this is what we found. And today's format is going to be like this. So I know in any book club, few people would have read the book completely, few would have read even multiple times, and few would have probably seen the covers or the bullet points, summaries, videos maybe, and some of them wouldn't have even touched the website. Divakar, can you take care of the admins? Thank you.
Yes, I'm taking that.
Great, okay. So in this book club meeting, we'll be having the sharing of those people who have read the book. If not fully, even partially read the summaries, seen the video, or any kind of input that they have about the book. So based on the points that are coming out by those people who have read the book, there'll be open discussions on the the points that has been opened up for the meeting. In order to make sure that we are covering the essence of the book, the necessary facilitation will also be provided. So people who have read the book, right from people who have read the book multiple times to people who have not even read the book, will be able to benefit out of this entire exercise. The idea is not to make people not to read the book, but they will be able to get the maximum when you read the book and come. But nevertheless, it's a starting point for many of the people who want to start reading the book and get the maximum out of discussions. Some of the guidelines are: please participate, add value by sharing, joining the discussion and asking any questions. Use the chat box if you want. Unmute and speak when asked. You can turn on or off the video, that's your choice. Keep your sharing brief and to the subject. And those who are joining for the first time, I put already on the chat window, please share your name and the details in the chat window so that we will be able to give you more details about how you can be part of the WhatsApp group that we have, where we exchange a lot about book recommendations, points, and a lot of things like that. So that's what we got, and then now we move on to today's discussion. As I told you, the format is going to be like this: sharing by those who read the book fully, partially, and the summary, etc. So today's book, what you have taken up for the month of December, is The Psychology of Money by Morgan Housel. He is a money manager, and his blogs are well read. So you can even go to his website, his company site, where his blogs are well read by many people. He talks primarily about personal finance. So this is what it is. The concept of money resonates something deeper inside each and every one of us. It's deeper than mere currency notes or the bank balance. It's based on belief systems and triggers emotions that influence how we earn, spend, save, invest, and give. So Morgan Housel talks about the psychology of money per se, how different people react to money. When money as a sound is heard, as a word is heard, how people react to it. The psychology behind that is what the essence of this book. The book has about 20 chapters, and in each of the chapters, the author tries to talk about different concepts with stories, narrations, and things like that. Of course, he gives a beautiful chapter on the US consumerism movement that has come about, where why we behave. We obviously talking about the US citizens, but much of the points what he had written there applies to India also. There are something that are unique to India, but how we behave, the way we behave right now towards money is a lot to depend on the history also. So he talks about that, which is another beautiful chapter for those people who have read. With this, let me open the floor to all the people who have read the book first to share, what is the major learning that they got out of the book, what did they like about it, so that we'll then move on to the discussions. First of all, who have read the book? Prem, yes, you said that you read the book. You can unmute and speak.
Yeah, TJ, I did read the book. I was hoping that, last time also I only spoke, so I was hoping somebody else will speak this time. Okay. So, yeah, again, it was a very breezy read, and, the main point I got was, again, like everything in life, this also is a subjective take on the so-called psychology of money and, timeless lessons on wealth, greed, and happiness. So what I got was, Morgan Housel wrote this. So there itself, people might not take what he says very seriously. That's what I felt, because there's a saying, right, that more than what is being said, who is saying it and how it is being said is more important. So maybe if people who really wanted, who are who have read The Intelligent Investor by Benjamin Graham will see all the technical analysis and how to make money in the stock market and all the stuff. They were pretty impressed. That's one of the bibles of investing, because it was written in a very transactional manner. Here, what I found, having read both those books, what I found interesting was Morgan gets straight to the point, and he clearly says that it's not just about no fancy or easy ways to make money. It's about how you go ahead and just invest, wait for it to compound, and then reap the benefits. That's one aspect of it. And apart from that, more than the money aspect of it, what I found fascinating was he clears the air about many myths surrounding, like hard work, passion, all this stuff. How if you can become whatever you want, all the stuff and all is good. But then he says that when certain things happen from where you are and when you are born, who you are born to, what are the dynamics you get in your life, also decide on what you become and what you earn in life also. That's one hardcore learning point for me. And apart from that, it focuses on strongly individual attitudes and behaviors. It's like, there are certain elements which are beyond our control, but certain disciplines can be followed. For example, rather than putting money in very volatile environments, put it in tried and tested methods, let it compound over a period of time, and then reap the benefits. So basically, what he says is there's nothing called making money the easy way. Of course, I do have my reservations about that, and he also tells us clearly that the dynamics, external dynamics, which you don't have control over. For example, it could be a natural disaster or an man-made disaster. All these things convolute all your financial plans also. So in a way, it was kind of how do I say it? It was as spiritual for me, in the spiritual in the sense, like confusing like spirituality for me also reading this book. I do have many reservations about what he says, but it's a pretty interesting read. It was a very breezy read for me. I was when I saw the title Psychology of Money, I thought it was going to be another boring stuff where it tells me about technical analysis and all the stuff. But then he gave me great case studies. For example, how the World War impacted the earnings of the future generations, and how people who were born in the dot-com boom became millionaires, and how despite the depression, certain people did not even know there was a depression. For example, JFK's episode, where people when people were not even getting one meal a day or in 2 days, they were like 60 gardeners in JFK's family, because his father just had so much of money. So these are some things which I got learnings I got from that. So yeah, I can ramble on, but I'll just I'll stop. But right now, maybe join the discussion later. Yeah. Thanks.
Thanks, Prem. Always good to have you start the conversation.
Okay.
Yeah. I would like others who have read the book also to share what is that you like most about this book and some points for discussion.
Hi, TG. Can I?
Yeah, sure, Babu.
Yeah. Hi, happy evening all. As per my read, the author completely shares his personal experience based upon a share trader or a broker or analyst like who was in the industry. So the whole psychology of money mainly depends upon the psychology of any trader. That's what I felt. Okay. So in fact, like he throws lights on the economy and what are the methods like by which we can save money. Like we can, if we are avoiding the source of income through an share thing, like after we receive, like how it can be saved or like how wealth can be looked at, like all those stuffs can be taken up generally. But if in case like somebody is not interested in a share market, then I don't think like this book would be a good to them. Generally, when we look at things, there are various options which he has given, and history again, like we cannot go with the history because like that's an experience of what has happened already, and each and every one the history he classifies variedly. So the history of the whole world, the history of an individual person, based on their experience, like they look at the value on the money kind of thing. But he has given a quite number of good suggestions how whatever the source of money it is, like build wealth. So again, as you are giving the intro, like it is based upon the US market. We can sync ourselves with the Indian market and we can suit it. That's it from my side. Thank you.
Thank you, Babu. I just want to bring up this slide, which in this chapter 16. Hope you're all able to see the slide. Just some of you can give a shout.
Yeah, TG, I can see.
Yeah. So chapter number 16, he really talks about this from a perspective of beware taking financial cues from people who are playing a different game than you are. So Babu, what you said in terms of some people play the share trading route and some people are in the wealth building, how much of time would they be able to invest on taking care of their money, growing. So there are different kinds of games that each and every one of us play. So I play a different game than what you play, and different people in this group. So he says investors often take clue from other investors who are playing a different game because their time horizon may be different, their risk factors, how much of risk they can take, or their margin of error, what they would be able to invest and take would be totally different. So don't follow that, is what he is advising. The main thing I can recommend is going out of your way to identify what game you are playing, whether you're building the wealth or you have a good margin of safety, margin of error he calls, or you are in a frenzied way, you have allocated some money in order to capitalize on the risk that you want to play around with, how long-term or short-term your goals are, how much of liabilities do you have already. So there are a lot of things that he is covering here. So in my view, Babu, that he covers not just for the share trading or those kind of things, though he is into that business, he's into wealth, he's a wealth manager, but he's pretty much covering about a lot of other things about money also, is what my take. Yeah, but thanks a lot, Babu. I just wanted to bring this point because
Fine, DG, yeah.
Yeah, I don't want people to get that this is a share trading book. And like Prem said, yeah, he's definitely not talking about the technical, analysis and charts. He's talking from the emotions people feel. It's really about the psychology, whether they're greedy or when do we feel the fear? How do we go after someone to mimic? How do we think that patterns will repeat where it will not? So he's talking about the psychology per se. Is what my take from that book. But thanks anyway. We can keep sharing the other points also. Divakar, yes, you would like to share?
Yeah, so I would like to share from my learning on it, right? This book consists of 20 chapters. And one key factor which actually helped me is this book contains more or less 250 to 300 pages, right? The way which the author has written the book is actually a very good case study. And he actually starts, which chapter which really helped me a lot is role of luck and risk actually. And so he clarified about how luck plays a vital role, how risk plays a vital role. So this is one chapter which really brought me right. So thanks TG for a brilliant presentation which you have created. So this part has actually helped me a lot to understand it better, because this one chapter which I read twice to understand. He talks about everyone is very unique and everyone will be having a fair chance to get succeed. But why someone is able to succeed, why someone is not able to succeed, is he gave an explanation that it is very tough to understand the complexity involved in the world. And it doesn't mean that all our actions dictate all our outcomes. So we need to understand that there are many people getting involved, and it is not an easy thing for us to get into it. So the way which he communicates in this is, luck is something we tend to ignore despite it being as powerful and prevalent as risk. So that was one careful message which I got it. And the second thing which I really admire in the book is, I would like to read about, TG also has mentioned it. Be careful when assuming that 100% of outcomes can be attributed to individual effort and personal decision. It is not true actually. That is what author is clearly communicating. If someone is very successful, it has a lot of hidden actions also involved from others. If someone is failure, is also because of hidden actions which he was not aware. And we cannot label individual because why he is successful because of 100% of his actions. That was my great learning from this book, which I thought I would like to insist on it. So whenever we are defining someone, oh, he's very successful in his business, after reading this book, one awareness is, it's not that he is successful because of his 100% of his actions. It is because he was operating at the right time, at the right place, and the environment also has supported to him. So that was my great learning, TG. And most important, let us not label people, because if they are not successful, we should not put the blame completely on that individual. It is because he might have put his own actions, but the outcomes did not come the way expected. Is various reasons involved, not because of that individual also. So that the respecting the other person also will be very high if you are able to think on it. So that message, which I thought I can share it, TG.
Thanks, Diwakar. Really a very, very important point, that all your success is not purely because of your actions, and all the people who have failed is not because of that they have done something wrong. That's come out, very beautifully in this particular chapter. I think I need to take you back into the first chapter, which is a prelude to this, where he says, no one's crazy. Your personal experience with money make up maybe 0.00000, I do not know how many zeros, 1% of what happened in the world. It's not by, it's but maybe 80% of how you think the world works. So, but we don't know, I mean, what's overall that's happening, but 80% of how we think the world works. So it may not be right. That's not the reality. And this is true with everyone. And a money manager of that repute, who's managing one of the biggest, fund houses, if he is saying that, and individual investors like us, we may not know what is happening completely. And that's why this luck and risk is, very important, that not all the thing what you do will actually be successful, or you can attribute all the success to what you have done. And all the thing which has gone bad, it's not purely because of you. There's so many uncontrollable factors. Thanks, Diwakar, for pointing this out. Please, make the sharing going for those people who have already read the book. And second times are also allowed. Prem, go ahead.
Yeah. So just to elaborate on what Mr. Diwakar shared, so I totally, agree with him. I'm 100% on this, because it is it is an amalgamation of so many factors that define our success as well as our failures, and sometimes who we are as a person also. How many of us are actually totally transparent about our personalities actually? So same thing applies to our successes and failures also. So many elements that contribute and collapse and elevate or sabotage or subjugate a lot of things that control our success and failure. So it is not just one element. So it is very easy for somebody to basically cast aspersions on somebody's success and say, hey man, he didn't get everything the right way. Or when somebody fails, very convenient for us also to say, hey man, he was built for failure. So it is very being a specimen for being constantly judged by many people right now, in a good ways and bad ways also. So those go a long way into how you develop your personality in itself. Some people tend to take it in the right way and excel, and some people might not. They might just crumble. So it is better to either understand what are the elements that contribute to a success from that individual, or try to make that person understand, instead of just casting judgments. So that's what I just wanted to say, because what Mr. Divakar said struck a very resonant note with me, because I could relate to that so much. Right? From a classic example would be like there used to be an aspect where people clearly said that no, somebody coming from let's say Vasarpadi have no chance of becoming, let's say, a content head or a product manager in the 90s. That's what it was. So all those things, how you, because I would not even blame them. The stereotyping comes from a cause, because they say it is an area of crime and people are there, not much education, not scope for that. A lot of elements are there. So a lot of factors are thrusted into anybody's success or failure. So it makes sense to analyze before passing judgment. Yeah, that's what it is. That's what I wanted to say. Thanks, Mr. Divakar, for saying that. I appreciate that.
Yeah, a lot more factor goes in. True. I would like to have other people who read the book to share. Srijana, did you raise your hand?
No, TG. Okay. I haven't read the book actually.
Okay, so
I think Kalpana was raising.
Oh, okay, Kalpana.
In video, I was seeing, or she want to share something. I do not know.
No, not at all. I haven't read the book. I was agreeing on what the second slide, luck and risk, right? So I was like, it made a lot of sense. So that's the reason I was raising my hand saying, yes, I agree.
Okay.
Then I saw there's a reaction and I can use that better.
Fine,
so TJ, I can share about on next one, which I really read. I'm not sure whether you have any order. Maybe I would like to share which
please go ahead.
Okay. So which really strike me is about the author talks about on getting wealthy and staying wealthy. Okay, that was a second brilliant learning for me in my learning from this book. Is there are multiple books available for us, or multiple learning self-help talks about on getting wealthy, right? There's a big difference between getting wealthy and staying wealthy. So that is what which the author covers in depth on example about the difference really requires on staying wealthy is frugality and parounia. How we can get into it. So for example, getting healthy requires risk taking, optimism, shooting for the fences, whereas staying rich requires a little bit of a frugality and the way how we are taking a calculated risk, right? That is what which I learned it about on the completely different. Getting wealthy and staying wealthy is another learning which I thought I can share it over here in this group team. So we need to look differently on getting wealthy versus staying wealthy. So two different things.
Yeah, brilliant, Divakar. When I picked up the book, I was hoping that the author will also be talking about how to earn money. Then I realized, no, that is not the objective of this book at all. For those people who would like to read this book, he is not talking anything about how to earn money. He is assuming that we have sufficient education, skills, and all those kind of things, not to go ahead and earn the money. He's really talking about how to actually invest or take care of the money, how to save, how to build a margin of safety, how to understand that we will never be infallible, okay, and how to look at the patterns, how to look at the history. He's talking about many of these things in order to become wealthy, immaterial of how much our earnings are. So in this chapter, even Divakar, I love this chapter. Beautiful, So he says good investing is not necessarily about making good decisions. It's about consistently not screwing up, because your knowledge is only 0.0000 how many ever zeros 4% of what is really happening, and but still you think 80% of your decisions are coming from your own actions, but that's not true. So he's talking about a combination of frugality and paranoia. So it's very interesting for a US author to talk about frugality. So we think that it's like people, you have to go all the way to keep spending and show off and all that, but many chapters, the author covers about how frugal you should be, and there should be a paranoia in terms of what will happen if my money is, risk. What if I lose the money? So you carry that and build a margin of safety. It's a beautiful chapter. Thanks for sharing that, Divakar.
TJ, I would like to share a personal experience on it, TJ. I was normally I will do a kind of an investment in equity, right? And I would like to share about on the way which I have made a decision and how this book has helped me to resonate on it, right? See, I have invested in Franklin Templeton low risk fund, which is kind of a debt fund, which is just to get rotated on it, right? And because of the COVID situation, two different funds in Franklin Templeton have been on risk, where suddenly the two funds have been collapsed, and it has been in a big challenge for a fund company to redeem it actually. So still it is not. It will take another 1 or 2 years because a lot of share market has been crashed over there in that period. And I also invested during at that period on investing on IT stocks, because I was part of my career is on IT. I started investing it on IT stocks. I was just thinking about how did I make the decision on these two, right? One is I have taken a risk because the way which I have taken the risk for my IT stocks are we are all going to work from home. Digital is going to play a vital role. Let me invest in IT related stocks, which has given me a very good returns now, and the market has boomed. But the same thing, where I was earn some money, which I really want to keep it safe, and I invested in a low margin debt fund, which has actually collapsed. So then I realized that about how to keep the money safe. When I was reading this book a few weeks ago, and I realized that what kind of mistakes I made it when I'm making a decision, right? I need to be very clear. Am I investing this money to stay wealthy, or I'm keeping this money, or I'm investing in this money to getting rich? So that clarity I got it after reading this book, TJ. So I thought I can share it with a live example, how it has impacted me very much on my decision making, when I know the classification between my investment is to getting rich or my investment is to stay wealthy.
Great. Thanks for sharing that with your personal example, Divakar. Makes all the sense. I'm compelled to share a few things, but I want to make others who have read the book also to open up their points. Those people who read the book, read the summary, whatever you liked about the book, you can share for the benefit of everyone. So can I go ahead and share if others are waiting here? I love one particular chapter. Not that that's the only one, but this is one thing that which really struck me. So the author asks, not this chapter, okay, so the author asks a question: what is the hardest financial skill? So what do you think that is? Let's open out for the group. So he tries to answer that in one of the chapter. The hardest financial skill is what? What do you think? Anybody can share?
Patience, long term.
Patience, okay. Especially newcomers. I want you to get involved in the discussions. That's the whole idea about book club. It's not reading alone. It's like coming and sharing and then discussing, rattling all the ideas.
I think overcoming greed is one thing which one has to be cautious about, because greed is one factor which automatically comes or maybe creeps into when one starts earning money, and as it grows. And to overcome that, of course, there are number of ways for it. But that is one thing that one needs to be very cautious about. That's what my take is.
Anil, have you read the book?
I have not read the book, but you said that you are opening it to the group. That's why I responded. Because previously, when you said that those who have read the book, please.
Yeah. I know, because you are hitting the nail. That's why I asked you.
Oh, is it? I have not even read the book.
Great, yeah, psychology. Yeah, who else wants to share? Please do share. What is the hardest financial skill? He puts it into.
Hey, Sajid. Yeah,
Sajid.
please go on.
Go ahead, Sajid.
Yeah, Sajid here. Yeah. Taking calculated risk is one of the prerequisite towards moving from one ladder to another ladder. Many of the people who invest, they don't know what exactly are they investing in. Most of them say that, okay, my friends have said they have certified it. I believe upon his wisdoms, and then go through that. Most of the people who invest in equity says, what share did you put it? He has no clue about it. Why did you put on it? He has absolutely no clue about it. But he goes and becomes an advertiser and says, the share market, I'm not specific only about share market. Even in, if we go out and buy lands, you need to be very clear as to what is that you are putting it and why is that you are putting it. What are the other kind of factors which are affecting it? So, I mean, basically coming down to taking calculated risk is one of the prerequisites from moving. That is my way. I have not read the book. Probably I'm way outside the margin, but still, that's my opinion of thought.
We are all involved in the money somewhere or other, Sajid, so we are inside the book anyway.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. So anybody else want to share this? What do you think is the hardest financial skill?
TG, can I go ahead?
Yeah, please, Rajana.
Conviction and of course, balancing uncertainty, situations of uncertainty.
Okay. Okay, balancing the uncertainty. And the author keeps on saying, Srujana, that to all, from my understanding of the book, uncertainty cannot be managed, we cannot predict.
No, we cannot predict, but that's what, we should be prepared. Like, I will, whatever it is, I will face it. It's that kind of a mindset.
Yeah. He gives a different kind of a word for that called margin of safety, that whatever happens, I still be in the game. I'll not go out of the game.
Yes, I won't give up.
Yeah, he calls that, yeah. So to understand that is the hardest financial skill?
Pardon?
No, I'm just asking the group also. To understand that and implement is the hardest financial skill. So let's go on to the chapter which I would like to share. And then we can discuss. So it's this particular chapter which has this thing. So here he talks about never enough. People who do not know how to say enough. So he says enough is a magic word. That is a brilliant thing. So what he talks about is he talks about stories where some of the rich people, even though they are so rich, they take some absurd decisions. And like Anil Kumar Pillai was talking about, the greed factor, and take certain decisions which wipes off their entire wealth. They are not able to say that enough. So the hardest financial skill is getting the goalpost to stop moving. So they fix the goalpost that this is what I want to reach. I want to become a millionaire. I want to have sufficient bank balance. I want to have a house. Yes, but the goalpost keeps moving is the constant pain, because that is the thing that affects the wealth accumulation. Because looking at the neighbors, looking at somebody else, looking at the TV advertisements, looking at some fancy things, if our goalposts move because we want that also, that's when actually the problem happens. Is it really that you want, or you keep on changing the goalpost? So the author advises that the hardest financial skill is any time you reach something, don't move the goalpost 2 steps ahead. So you'll never be able to reach, and you will become greedy. So happiness, as it is said, it is just results minus expectations. So enough is not too little, enough is, and he also wants. So enough means people immediately think, oh, we are looking for something which is small, we were looking for conservatism. No, it is not about that. He says, have a goal, have a goal post but don't move it for heaven's sake. Just because, there is something which is coming on your way or it's not coming on your way, don't just move it, stick on to it. And once you reach it also, you admire to be there and set the next goal, but don't keep on moving it. That's the hardest financial skill he advises in this chapter. So another beautiful chapter. Any points from this?
So TG, from a Gyan perspective, probably that makes sense. But when you actually go into, it's like the commentator role. I mean, like on hindsight, we can always say as to why one scored a century or why one got out in the first ball. But if you actually take it in the real-time perspective, is it really possible? I mean, like, see, gold was once at probably different rate. Now it is a different rate. So where do I put a stop? How do I put a stop? See, basically, we are all humans and the greed is imbibed into it. So what level I stop that greed depends on how much I already have in my kitty or how much I have already burned my hand. So how do I make this goalpost stop? Sometimes now when I stop that goalpost, tomorrow I'll feel like I've been stupid enough. Why didn't I take the risk? That it is natural. Is it natural for that thought to come in?
Yeah, I think every one of us, I think one of the psychology, Shajit, it's like, have you missed that opportunities, right? So that is definitely one of the thing. And that is also going with this factor that I'm not able to say enough. Let me go on to probably this chapter. Just see whether this is a relevant thing for the question what you're asking.
TG, like I have a word on his view. Can I?
Sure. Keep sharing. Everybody can share. Yes, Bob.
Yeah. Thing is like as such, like as Mr. Shaji was saying that there is a clear demarcation which we need to fix. Actually, each and everyone, as the author says, fix a goal post. Okay, so each and everyone should fix a goal post. That's what the author says. And as per Mr. Shaji, what he says is like, should we not have more money? So thing is like somebody will feel that like if I get a salary of so and so, and if I'm able to rent a decent house and like have a 3-day good meal, that's his goal post. Maybe somebody else will feel that like, no, I need to own a house, I need to own a car. So that's his goal post. Same way, like maybe if Mr. Shaji, as he says, like he might have his own goal post. Like somebody can have like, I need to be a millionaire, or somebody will think like I need to have a billionaire. What the author says is you fix your goal post. It can be 1 lakh per month, or it can be multi-billion. So that can be once like we reach that point, we'll get that feel of satisfaction. So it does not, the author does not mean that like we should have less goals or vision. We can have a higher goal, but once we reach to that goal, to whatever we feel, we should get happy. That's what the author says. Thank you.
I'm perfectly fine with the theory. Okay, I understand what the author is coming to say, but if you look at that, I'm just taking the example of equities because I'm much more comfortable over there. See, everybody buys at one level and wants to sell it at the other level. So if we look at, okay, what is your goal post? At least 90% of the trade which is executed should have a stop loss. But it is not that way. Stop loss is never there. You are probably less than 15% of the trades have a stop loss value over there. So theory, yes, perfectly fine. I agree with that. No, we need to probably sell it at probably 10-15% of whatever we have. We need to sell whenever the goal post is. But how practical is it if you can go back to your real life scenario and say, this was the goal post and this is what I did? Is there a case when tomorrow you feel that, if things turn out right, then you are happy? Yeah, man, thank God I set a goal post and I came out. But if you sell something at 100, and then tomorrow or day after tomorrow you raise that, no, it has gone up to 500, you'll be cursing, oh my God, how much of an idiot I have been. So that is what I'm just coming into. Theory, absolutely agree. But practicality of it is what I'm discussing with.
Yeah, the author also mentions this point in a chapter. What he says is like, you need to have an figure on investing. Say like you're investing in equity or shares, like you need to set a goal. And when you reach a point of your target of sale, when it comes and you see profit on your shares, you need to take up and save it, invest it somewhere and reserve it for something. You should not, like, or else like a part of it, like where you can let it to grow. And that's what in another chapter he says, like compounding as an effect. So you need to have a particular percentage of shares to allow it to compound for a longer time. Particular level of shares, if you are getting like you for whatever daily thing, the author says that like your lifestyle, you need to take on into it. The other things, like when it goes down, you should not quit. That's what, like when you say like you are getting more particular percentage, like when you leave it as such, like it will compound and naturally, you know, like it will come inside. Like he speaks about the mindset which we need to have. That's what my learning is. Thank you.
Can I?
Please go ahead, Anil.
Yeah, the thing is that it's a very interesting discussion, in the sense that whatever is convenient is sometimes deemed to be practical. Whatever is easy is sometimes deemed to be very practical, and whatever is difficult is sometimes seen to be impractical. Now, looking at this, yes, greed is one of the weakness that every human being has. Most of us, or me, I do not know the statistics and all that, but then overcoming greed is also possible, because there is something called mental toughness. If you have that, mental toughness works in situations where we have weakness. Like if you take a SWOT analysis also, we always look at the strength, weakness, opportunities, threats, because when he was talking about 100% action, 100% outcome, most of our action is not determining, but there is the environment also. So what I'm saying is that many of the weakness can always be overcome by the mental toughness that one can develop over a period of time. Now, mental toughness doesn't come in a day or two. I mean, it comes when you do a thing repeatedly. Like say, for example, if I have to run a full marathon, I need to practice from 5 kilometer, 10 kilometer, and maybe do a couple of half marathons before I graduate to full marathon. Now, I cannot be saying that full marathon is not practical. It may not be practical for me if I have not practiced. But if I have practiced it over a period of time and I am comfortable running it, then it's practical for me. So I think same thing is with greed also. That is my take, because greed, we need to be aware. Of course, sometimes situations or environment is in such a manner that it's very difficult to overcome greed. But then how do we become ourselves aware of it and then we overcome it? So I think it can be developed over a period of time. May not be easy, but then it can be done. That's my take on it.
Excellent, Anil. I think my take is, if we stop moving the goalpost, we are controlling the greed. So that's why the chapter was very impressive for me.
Hey, Hari here.
Yeah, Hari.
See, according to me, I think it is all my individual need, right? As of today, based on my situation, I think I set out to amount that this is the amount I need, okay, down the line in 1 year or 2 years. So to just to be practical, supposing I'm in a normal idea, right? So if I just try to invest in a normal fixed deposit, that's 6 to 7%, or take at the most 8%. So okay, if I invest there, I know very sure that 8% is going to come out down the line in 1 year. Now, if I put it in the equity, so I'm sure another 50 more percent, or take another 100 more percent, right? That might be there. Now I know it is going to come. That's why I'm investing there, right? So I'm also taking a calculated risk. Supposing if I'm getting that, yes, I'm happy for that. So after taking that, the next day, if it goes up, right, then it's a individual feeling, oh, why didn't I take the next day? But am I having that mental ability to say that, okay, this is what my target is, so I got it, I'm happy with that, right? So I think that is what I think, that it all depends on the need, on the current situation. I go for it. And greed, yes, always it is there. That's why people say that Annadanam is the biggest thing, because that is one, people will say that, okay, enough. Right? So for anything, today for you, if I give you 1 crore, I'm happy. Suddenly I give your friend another 1.5 crores. Oh, why did you give him 1.5 crores? Right? So that is always that, again, depends on each individual, how greedy I am. The level of greediness also is there. That's what my point is.
Thanks.
The satire, the author talks about only earning, investing alone, or other financial discipline like spending. It's only on investment or wealth creation only.
Wealth creation is closely associated with spending and savings. He's talking about that. He's not talking about earning.
Okay.
I think it is also about the feeling, right? Feeling about the money, like how you feel
Absolutely.
the money.
Yeah,
So
that's
I think,
psychology.
yeah, that is the psychology I personally take, because it is all about the feel. If I have 10 rupees, I feel rich, right? If I have 100 rupees, I feel poor, right? So I believe in that more than having the amount. Because, for example, I know one of my friend, even today, he asks me, that fellow is earning in 10 lakhs per month. Okay, so even today he asks this. Even he was earning 50,000 also, he was asking, even today he says that I don't have money, right? So it is about the feeling that you have about the money is what I feel.
Absolutely.
I think, can I see something about, when we talk about money, it is really a very, very confusing mindset that comes, because we say that money makes the world go round. But at the same time, we say that paisa to sab kuch nahi hai na, money is not everything. This kind of contradictory feelings as far as money is concerned is sometimes very confusing. And yes, and I don't think so many articles have been written on how money affects psychology. But this book, I feel, because although I have not read, as I could see from the discussion, does it connect money with psychology?
It doesn't connect money with the psychology. It connects psychology with money. Okay, so
commutative, again you're slightly confusing.
I don't know how to put it. It's
A
like,
is equal to B, but B is not equal to A. Is it?
No. You'll be able to understand. Yeah, it is true, right? In statistically also.
Yeah.
Some cases, see what happens is money is created by men. It's not something which has been there when the world is formed, right? So this is a concept. Whereas the psychology has been there with the human beings right from the beginning. The fear, the greed, the comparison, that the happiness, the peace, the lot of emotion that we go through, are all had been there time immemorial, because it's been there. It's part of us. Money is something which has been artificially created in order to make the system work, the way we will function as the rulers of this world, right? So there is the psychology got attached to the money. So it's like, how much of it that I need to have? How much of it should I avoid? Is this right? Should I compare myself with another person? So that's why I said, psychology has been existing. Money is newly created. That's why I put it in the reverse order, Anil.
And TJ, like for this point, which has been discussed in a lengthy manner, like regarding the greed, I think the author mentions that very simply, crisply in the chapter 8, Man in the Car Paradox. So that's what like what the author says is that like almost every one of the person will be looking at an elite car, looking that like, oh, when I travel, the person who owns it will think in such a way that like all the people who are seeing might feel that like, okay, oh, who's such a person who's owning this car. But the actual fact, what the author says is like everybody, including me and you, will think about the car. Like if we own the car, how it would be. We will not think about the owner of the car. We will be thinking about the car. That's what. So it naturally reflects to the greed. So why the human beings tend to become greedy? Because like to earn more and more to show off or develop some bigger lifestyle kind of thing. But the other people naturally won't look at you in that angle. They'll fix themselves. That's what he puts up there.
Yeah, it's a beautiful chapter. Thanks for bringing this up, Babu. We buy the car in order to make, inspire and get admired by others, but rather they will omit us, they will forget us. And they want to put that dream into their minds. If what will happen if I own that car or own that property, own that jewelry? That's what they will think. They will, this is the psychology. It's a beautiful, paradox, what he mentions here. And Shachit, in order to answer your question, one thought came to my mind. When you talk about the trading, that you need to achieve, 90% of the stop loss and things like that, I don't think that is the goal even fund managers would have. Because the fund managers would probably have, in order to reach say 12% or 15% or 18%, depending on the fund objective, right? So, but they will not. This is a tactical thing, or the strategies what they apply, because the strategies what they apply is subject to 0.000 whatever 0.04% of what I know, including the fund manager, because even they don't know more than so much percentage of what is happening around them, because it's a mad rush of people who are independently taking investment decisions, and based on that collective intelligence that is happening, which we don't have a clue about, is the return or the risk that I'm taking. So having a goal like that, I don't think that is a goal. But if you think that you need to earn 12% out of this particular thing, then I think it is don't move it. Then you try to get that. But if I get 12% and somebody else gets 12.5%, and if I compare, then I think the enough factor is not coming in, and our goalpost is moving. I think that's what he's trying to say, Shazad. I do not know whether this answers your question or doubt.
Okay, no problem. Mine was just a thought point, TG. I didn't actually want an answer for that, because if I quote this Oracle of Omaha guy is there. Now there's another financial guy. He said the perpetual time, I mean, a good time to hold a stock is forever. So what is he talking about? I mean, like, should we not sell? Should we not say? But if you actually go back to his portfolio and see, the churn percent is about 40%. So his theory and practicality is not tallying with each other.
Yeah, so there's a chapter where he says, I will change.
Yeah.
Even, Benjamin Franklin, or which book is that? Intelligent Investor, right?
Yeah, Benji, yeah.
Yeah. So what he has been talking about the change in the strategies, and every time there is a publishing of, reprint of that book, he keeps adding addendum, this works, this is not working.
Okay.
So what is, and even in this book, the author goes on to say that I have written all this, but don't come and ask me after 1 year whether I moved. I would definitely say, because it's so very flexible, it's not something like value system. It's like, நீ பொய்யே பேச மாட்டேன்னு சொன்னியே, இப்ப பொய் பேசுறியே. It's not like that. நீ வந்து கோல்ட்லயே இன்வெஸ்ட் பண்ண மாட்டேன்னு சொன்னியே, இப்ப இன்வெஸ்ட் பண்றியே. அது அப்போ இப்போ things change.
Yeah, okay. I get the point.
So that's how he looks at it. So, and I want to, anybody else wants to share any other point before I go on to another important chapter? Yes, go ahead.
That was Benjamin Graham, PG.
Sorry? Benjamin.
That was Benjamin Graham. Benjamin Graham, Intelligent Investor.
Yeah. Great. Thanks.
Thanks.
So, so he goes on to say, what is one financial objective that we should have in one of the chapter? The goalpost could be 12%, 18%, that I'm saving 40 lakhs for my kids' education, are all fine, but what should be the one objective of financial planning? And this is a chapter which is most interesting. If you also have that kind of a question, it's called freedom. Controlling your time is the highest dividend money pays. So I say, at any point of time, if you're able to wake up in the early morning and say, I can do whatever I want to do today. And that should be the objective of your getting wealthy, not rich, getting wealthy.
Yep. That was my favorite chapter in the entire book, Freedom. That was what actually, I read that a few times, apart from reading the whole book. And that's, that's my favorite part in the whole book, TG. Freedom.
Yeah, great.
Yeah, chapter. So that was like a brilliant thing, right from the quote itself, something where we can actually wake up and say, hey, I can do. So to me, that is an actual aspect of being rich. See, I sometimes I've actually envied the beggar sitting around the corner of my house, where he just sits there, he smokes his BDs, he just looks at the world going by, he decides what to do, and he can do whatever he wants despite his means and something like that. I might be quoting some random stuff also, but then that ability to have that freedom to say, hey man, today I want to just go, I want to take a day off, or I want to do whatever I want, I want to go get this book, or I want to go eat in this place, or do whatever stuff I want. That to me is being rich. And how do I get that? My thought process again to that. So I think my goal post is that only, what do I need to do to get to that place? How much corpus I need to build? How much kind of money I need to have that end up, investing by itself, that will work for me instead of me working for money. Naval Ravikant said that, go to a place where the money will work for you and you don't have to work for the money. So that would be my goal post. Now I have clarity about that. And I have, a very practical database of, this is what I need to do and how I'll get there. So the freedom is the great. And I would recommend, if any of you who have not even read the book, at least if you can get a PDF or something like that, just go to the 7th chapter. I think it's 7th chapter, PG. Yeah. Freedom is 7th chapter. Yeah. And I would request you to read that. It's a brilliant chapter, and I'm sure all of you will actually enjoy that aspect of it now. All said and done, like I said, now everything is subjective, super subjective in this world, and so is freedom. So this chapter doesn't give you any gyan about how to hold on, what not to hold on. Just says, you can decide who you want to be and how you want to be, and that is ultimate. That is the ultimate explanation of being rich. Yeah, thank you, guys.
Yeah, thanks, Prem. The floor is open for everyone to come and share, because now enough points are on the floor, so you can pick up whatever point you like, or you want more clarity, or you want to share something from your personal experience. Please go ahead and make this interesting. Participate in this discussions and make it interesting. I want to give feeling that everybody is getting an opportunity to speak, so that's why this pause. So in the chapter of freedom, what Prem was talking about, there are 2 lines. I think it hits the nails. He says, "Take it from those who have lived through everything. Controlling your time is the highest dividend money pays." It's not the percentages. It's not that I am better than my neighbor feeling. It's not that greed or the fear, but the greatest dividend money pays, the highest dividend money pays, is controlling my own time. I can do whatever I want to do with my time. Is the purpose of having money or wealth. It's one of the brilliant chapters. Thanks, Prem.
I think that's a very valid point, because being wealthy is not more about money, but the freedom to do what we want. We have seen, say for example, we would be in careers which we may not be passionate about, but then we would be having hobbies which we are passionate about. But then how free are we to pursue those passion is something that we need to ask ourselves and see. But of course, at the end of the day, money is important, but then is money the only thing? Can we do whatever our passion is and go about doing that is something that we need to ask ourselves. I think that is a very good this thing. Although this book is about, they were talking about money and this thing, but at the end of the day, it is a freedom to choose. Can I choose what I want to do is something.
Totally.
Request others who are observing this entire meeting to share what is that you're picking up from this meeting so far.
Yeah, it will be great to hear others speak also, please. I'm getting tired of my own voice.
Me too.
I actually today, I thought I'll just be totally mum today. I was just thinking to myself, I thought it'll be totally mum today, but nobody else was,
No, that's not the point of a book club. We need to speak up.
Yeah, everybody.
I want others to share.
Exactly. I mean, not to force others, but something, maybe if they have questions also, they can ask. They can ask some questions also.
Can you hear? Hello?
Hey, Ravi, yes.
Yeah, sorry, I didn't read the book, but overall, I agree with all the points which have been told by everybody. Like most of the time, it's more about investment is more about starting early. Like I'm telling in a general perspective, it's not about going in a rat race. Like it's not a race. Like if you see a stock market or a mutual fund investment, or people who are investing in land or other global investments, I think you have some goal, as somebody told, like you have a goal post or something like that, and then you continuously invest. Like start early, even from 100 rupees, you start investing. Understand the market around you, like what is the market changing. Not getting too greedy. Like there are people who invest day in, day out, like the day trading or impulsive trading, right? Like impulsive trading. So that can cause some kind of pressure or greediness. But if you invest consistently, very early at your age, or from the point of initiation, you keep on continuously invest, then I don't think it is a burden. Investment is not a burden. It is one of the part. Like you can just take it as a part in your life, and concentrate more or 99% of the time about your work or personal things or travel. So that is what I feel personally. Like I don't take this like 1 crore is my goal. 1 crore is not my goal. It's a continuous or consistent investment. That is the goal. It can be any investment. Doesn't matter. It has to be trade or mutual funds or whatever. But whatever it should be a consistent.
Amazing, amazing. Thanks, Ravi, for sharing.
Thank you.
Yeah, because in this chapter, Ravi covers something what you just touched upon. He says he talks about saving in a big way, okay, but he touches upon a very subtle point. He says you should save for not for any particular purpose. You should just save. It's not for saving for education. It's not saving for future. It's not saving for buying a home. It's not. It's just for the habit of saving.
Exactly.
I think he covers that, and he mentioned that in a couple of more chapters also, as I mentioned in chapter 10. I think this is the underlying thing that he talks about. Thanks for pointing. This is a very brilliant, subtle point that he brings out in this psychology.
Oh, even for example, if I want to drink a coffee of 40 rupees, for example, I'm not touching the no point here, but just telling, like if I can save 20 rupees from that and drink a very almost a similar kind of a coffee flavor, then I will go for that. Still, I'm saving 20 rupees. That is my goal. The goal is in that way. Like not it should be like I should go and invest in mutual fund from here 1 lakh and then in 10 years I make 25 lakhs. So that can be a goal for somebody. But I'm saying that if there is a consistent, continuous path in your life, then I don't think you will not be hesitant to do that.
Brilliant. Thanks a lot for sharing that.
Srini, Hari.
Yes, Hari.
I think last almost 1 hour we have been talking. I heard more of investment, equity kind of thing, right? So I just want to know, and I have not read the book. So since the book name is Psychology of Money, right? So I still wanted to understand that psychology is more from your thinking perspective, thinking and feeling, right? So in those lines, what is that this book is talking about? Because the rational, whatever we spoke is, we have rational on that, right? How to invest, the goal and all those things, right? But the psychology part, I'm not able to get. If you could clarify me, I think that will help.
I am one of the person who read the book, Hari, and there are others also, but I will probably see whether this chapter makes any sense for you. There's another brilliant chapter where he connects the psychology to the money. See, what he talks about here is how much we like pessimism of something. The doomsday are ahead are going to catch the lot of our attention rather than the great times are coming. So pessimism holds a very special place in our hearts because we want to hear that. But whereas he also defines, it doesn't mean real optimists keeps on saying great times ahead. It's not that they keep on saying everything is going on rosy. That is not real optimism. For him, he says they don't believe that everything will be great. That's complacency. But real optimists understand that this is what is reality. I mean, they are not. The media always keeps projecting that what is going to be completely negative. So he goes on to quote some of the examples of how after the Japan was devastated from World War II, and what kind of a thing that was caused. And if people had been written in the next 20 years, their economy will be growing by 15 times, and they are going to make some of the best automobiles the world has ever produced. Nobody will have believed that story, but they wanted to believe in the pessimism. So most of the things that was written were in terms of the pessimistic activities around the world. So tell someone, he talks about tell someone that everything will be great, and they are likely to either shrug you off or offer a very skeptical eye. But tell someone they are in danger, automatically you have their undivided attention. So he talks about how pessimistically aligned we are in order to keep attracting or open our ears only for pessimistic news. Doesn't do any good for the money. So here is where the psychology and money is getting connected. So he goes on to say why we are actually doing this is because there are two things which will pay very high importance to. One is health, another is money. Out of which health is something which is very personal, because my health, predominantly I am responsible for it. My lifestyle and my gene or whatever, I'm responsible for it. So I don't blame the people around. But something happens to the money, like the Dow Jones or the index falls, or gold rate goes up and haywire, and the market is in red and things like that. Naturally, you will get worried because money is present everywhere, and anything happens to money across the world, you will get worried because that is a common denominator of human life. But he goes on to say there are never anything that is too much of a bad or too much of good that happens in the market. Don't believe that, because the market has, the economics has some kind of a mechanism by which there's nothing too good or too bad stays. It eventually comes and finds a neutral. So he says, goes on with this principle, go on with this principle and the belief. And he also goes on to say that why this pessimist, when it attacks, how to overcome that is by this belief that there are overnight strategies like, flight crash, or, even this corona, immediately it got spread and things like that, and doomsday ahead, and we are not going to pick up, and all those kind of things like, overnight. But things that have been built, like, stories of many of the companies which are rock bottom to how it is built, are built over a period of time, and it's never get noticed. So that's why we keep noticing that which is, that which falls, because things which falls fast and it gets our attention. But things which build are very slow, and, they keep on, building the compounding effect. So we seldom pay attention to it, but he says that pay attention to those kind of companies and those kind of mechanisms, keep building on a daily basis. That's better. So does this answer this thing, Hari? Like, how psychology and this thing gets connected? Money?
Yes. This is
very beautiful.
Can I?
Yeah, please go ahead.
Can I make some point here? Thing is that we talk about psychology of money, but as I was just telling, more than that, it is the freedom to do something, and at the same time, money is just a means. It is not an end. Like, say, for example, we say fixing the goal post and then shifting it as, I would be happy if I have 10 crores, or if I would be happy. More than that, I think it is the way we enjoy the journey, the process. Like, say, for example, if I'm able to enjoy the simplest thing in my life, like having my breakfast, have we ever fully, given our attention to what we are doing is something much more important. That's what I feel. And more than that, what I believe is that discipline is one thing. The moment we talk about discipline, we think that it is something very terrible or something. But what I have found is that being disciplined is something, a way in which we can enjoy life. Suppose if you are very disciplined, you have the perfect rest that you can have. If you work hard, you rest properly. Like, say, for example, if you are very casual, and then you do not take that. So what I have learned is that being more disciplined, enjoying the process is much more important than having that kind of figure, that money that we need. So I think sometimes what happens is that we become so obsessed about, earning money. I got to go there. It's good to have such kind of ambitions, but then we need to keep a check on that. So I think more than making money as the goal, I think money is a means to an end. It is not an end by itself. So that's the point.
Yeah, thanks. I like that point.
Up on the psychology now. Thanks.
Yeah. I like the point of it is not the goal, it is the journey towards the goal. I think that's where we enjoy more. Then once you reach the goal, I think I may be satisfied for couple of days, but during the process of the goal, I see some improvement in myself, right? So I think that gives more joy than reaching the goal. I think I like that. Thanks.
Yeah, let's hear from others. Some new voices, please. This book club is for the discussions purposes only, not for hearing purpose alone. Damu, come on, Damu. Manoj, Kamal.
TG.
Sata, yeah, please.
Islama?
Yeah, sure.
Okay. One of my friend's father, my friend Solo, he used to tell me that his father, father is an old timer. He was a factory worker those days. So அவர் வந்து யார் வீட்டுக்கு போனாலும் when he visits his friends or his familyலே வந்து different status, the so-called status இருக்கும்ல, யார் வீட்டுக்கு போனாலும் he has got only one policy. He buys one Horlicks biscuit. That's it. It is not that பெரிய பணக்கார வீட்டுக்கு போறோம், I need to buy a box full of fruits or big இது சாதாரண குடிசையில் இருக்காங்கன்ட்டு யார் வீட்டுக்கு போனாலும் he buys only a Horlicks பிஸ்கட் ஒரு பாக்கெட் வாங்கிட்டு போயிட்டு அங்கே வீட்டில் இருக்கவங்க கொடுத்துட்டு he just whatever purpose he went there, he just speaks to them and comes back. So that was his the psychology part பார்க்கும்போது I think it is a great lesson that we should learn. I think not worrying about what others judge about our financial this thing, right? So even if you go to marriages, when you gift people or மொய் எழுதும்போது, okay, so if it is a small உங்க வீட்டு டிரைவருக்கு வீட்டில் கல்யாணம் நடக்குதுன்னா how much you will write. அதே உங்களோட கிளையண்டோட பையனுக்கோ பொண்ணுக்கோ கல்யாணம் நடக்குதுன்னா when you are being invited, what you will present. So all these things, I think it revolves around the psychology of one in spending and showing ourselves as what is what into money. So I think my friend's father was I think it's a good example. That was a very, very powerful thing that I learned few years back when he told this to me. Similar when you're talking about money and status or investments or greed or anything, so freedom. So he had the freedom for himself to do what he wants to with the money. So I think I don't know whether I'm stating the relevant stuff, I don't know, but just came to my mind. I think on the freedom, I just read that last but one line. So I just wanted to share it. Thanks.
You can share the powerful personality of the person, that no matter what, no matter what other people judge, this is what I will do. It's a very, very strong, personality which reflects as a psychology, and that makes him behave in a certain way with his money, right? Completely.
Yeah, actually, the author mentions this point in chapter 9, TC. Okay. Wealth is what you don't see. Spending money to show off people how much money you have is the fastest way to have less money.
Yeah.
So, Mr. Sata, there is a chapter which is been dedicated entirely for that.
I'm bringing that on screen. Yeah. Wealth is what you don't see. The only way to be wealthy is not to spend the money you do have. Because the moment you spend, to that extent, you become less wealthy. Like someone was talking about, I think Hari was talking about that. Hari was talking about the 40 rupees tea to 20 rupees tea. The problem for many of us is that it is easy to find rich role models, because that's what we hear about. That's where they are written about, the fancy cars to everything. It doesn't talk about not to own those kind of fancy cars if that is what your goalpost is. But if you're enjoying this particular goalpost, and because you go, see another car go past, a new model that has come, a new iPhone has come, and because you need to own that and your goalpost has changed, yeah, it's harder to find wealthy ones because by definition their success is more hidden. Real wealthy people are more hidden. It's very tough to uncover them. And books like this, brings that out very brilliantly. Otherwise, the wrong notion would be that, those or glitters is the gold or the wealth. Maybe, all their wealth is borrowed, or they are, have a lot of debts to pay to the bank. I'm not talking about that. It's not a very pessimistic view I'm taking here. It's like whatever, appeals to you in terms of wealth is something which is very personal. It is not something to show people around, I think that is how the psychology also is in.
TG, can I share my understanding about the psychology of money?
Go ahead, go ahead.
Yeah, most of the millionaires and the billionaires, what commonly they said is that they remember, or the hardest thing is that to earn the first 1 crore. So after that, they say, it just added up and they didn't feel, that hardness to earn money or whatever it is. So the first 1 crore is what they said is the difficult thing. And after that, they earned whatever they wanted. That is, whether it's 100 crores or 1,000 crores, it's just a number beyond a point. So I also feel that, until we buy the first car, only till such time is what we are trying to work hard for something which we don't have. Now, once we buy the first car, it is only an upgradation of the, status or the car. We just keep buying. Maybe we buy a Maruti car first, and after that we buy a Benz, and after that we move on to something better. So that is where the greed comes in. So what I feel is we can just try to get something which we don't have, only to that point. And if we are contented with that, and of course we can aspire, but provided that we live the moment and be happy with what we have. But if you are going to keep on, as you said, changing the goals or whatever it is the entire life is going to be something like, we are always going to expect something, keep on working hard, but we don't live the moment. So beyond a point, after you have your basics, and whether it is 100 crores or 1,000 crores, it is the lifestyle or the thing is going to be the same. So that's what I feel about money.
Great. Thanks, Rachana. Thanks for sharing. Looking for others to also share now. We are almost coming to another 5 to 7 minutes of this meeting. And then I have something else to share in terms of fixing the books for the next upcoming, meetings. Yeah, Shalu. Shalu, you want to speak, right? Others, Manoj?
Tini, what I felt is when you discussed about fixing a goal post, which I thought, which is very, very important, because money is one thing which, which I myself is not aware how much should I have. So what is the limit I should have? So at least having a goal post will, help me to know what is my requirement actually. And one more thing is, someone shared in the group, not only having the goal post, but also enjoying the journey. That should not be a pressure, to reach the goal post, but to enjoy the journey in reaching it is also very, very important, is what the, key thing which I took from this book club, TJ.
Great. Thank you for sharing that, Saresh.
Yeah, TG.
Hi. Yes.
Like when I went through few of the pages of this person who's speaking on the wealth, he is absolutely alone. That's all the message is. And the psychology is all about within the four walls we built ourselves to take our own decisions. So what psychology is working for you? Sometimes we get a paper on optimism, we may move, but who will give within your room? Nobody can give, because he says your history if you go, okay, the history of investments and you are going to do something on that, it's not going to help you out. Or if you're going to do something, research on this and you're going to work on this, it may not help you out. He doesn't guarantee anything on this. And this is not a labor-oriented one where you do some industries and earn out of it, not the way he spoke about it. So looking at the entire thing is like you and your psychology in investing. Like suppose now you're driven by instinct, you will keep doing the same thing. The room actually. So where you have been driven, it's by instinct. Yeah, you say greed, all these things. Even in terms of greed, there is no real greed into that. It is something like, no, I do not know to stop it, or I understand it, so I know to stop it. It's again within the room. We are going to be transferred with ourselves. That is what in all the places he speaks about wealth management. Because otherwise, if it's an engineering, otherwise any other things, we know to take some support from somewhere and we can do that off. But when it comes to this particular thing, there is nothing we can do. That's what he drives the entire portion. That's what I understood on this portion. So you do yourself. That's the message on this.
Actually, so sorry if I may interject quickly, TG, just 10 seconds. What Mr. Manoj said, is exactly, he actually summarized the entire book actually. In the 2 minutes he spoke, he summarized the entire book. We can all give our, we can quote, Benjamin Graham, Warren Buffett, all the stuff and all the stuff. Ultimately, after this meeting is over also, we are going to look at what we need, what we think is right, what will decide what our needs are, and then go and make those bloody decisions. Simple as that. Whatever gyan we give or we talk about, all that is fine. But ultimately, even in the book itself says, see, all the financial decisions are not made in boardrooms, but in a simple, not made on spreadsheets. They are made at the dinner table, speaking to your wife or your son or your daughter or your grandchildren or whatever it is, and then based on that only. So Mr. Manoj just beautifully summarized the entire book in the 2 minutes. Ultimately, it's up to you only. So it's a very fluid situation. Nobody is going to be like, they are not set in stone. Some people enjoy the journey, some people enjoy the destination. And I personally don't believe in having that goalpost just there. I want that goalpost to keep on moving because I also believe in the journey. After reach that, what next? So that's what I wanted to say. Thanks, Mr. Manoj. That was beautifully put. Thank you so much.
Yeah, thanks a lot.
Yeah. Can I make a point? Sometimes, when you see, there are many billionaires, I do not know, they would have, the life journey would have been over, even without doing many of the things. Like say, for example, there is something called philanthropy. Even if you cannot enjoy by yourself, there is something called philanthropy which can be followed. So I do not know how much satisfaction does one get out of what we call philanthropy or by giving away. That kind of satisfaction is also something that a wealthy person gets. That's what because there are many examples to quote from corporate India itself, where when after reaching a certain level, they think that the downtrodden also should be taken care of. So that kind of satisfaction is also there, which I do not know. Whenever we talk about money, this does not seem to come in through. That is a take that was thought process that I could get.
This book per se, it is speaking about how you should be transparent with yourself. If you believe in philanthropy, let us not read somebody has done the philanthropy, so we can do the stuff. He says the both ways. If you want to believe, don't believe. If you believe, if you don't want to believe, believe. That's how the entire thing moves. So, very, very extraordinary. Be transparent with your psychology. That's what he says. So now we can now unmask ourselves and look into what we want to do onto this. And we need not be worried about when we talk with our own psychology, we need not be shameful also. So that is one additional mask he removes over there. And that chapter of surprise is very interesting on this. That's a sharing for this. Even philanthropy, everything is like you decide yourself. You are alone. When it comes to money, you are absolutely alone. That's a message on this. If you feel that we are dependent, we have a support and all, it's, not a supportive message it is. That's what it is. It's correct, actually, truly correct.
Thank you so much, Manoj. Different people, different viewpoints on something which is all prevalent. Money, like air, space, It guides us. It guides on every decision that we take in our life. So thank you so much for joining today's meeting, and hope everybody had a chance in order to speak up, share, discuss. And also, I'm sure many of you would have picked up a lot of points which would be very useful for you. Thank you so much for joining. I would like to, share few things that, going forward, what we need to do in Alchemist Book Club. So here is a small selection of books that, we could probably try and take up. So we want to fix, second Saturdays of the month to be, on business, leadership, strategy, management. And the fourth Saturdays of the month would be for history, fiction, regional, poetry, those kind of, things. That's what we want to split and have. So we'll be, from 2021 January onwards, we'll be having 2 meetings in a month of 2 different groups. I'm actually talking about this particular this thing for the January month, second Saturday onwards. So these are all the 6 books that we have, out of which book appeals to you, you can decide. And we want to pick at least 3 books so that enough time will be there for the members in order to go through the book before they come out for discussion. Manoj, can you put yourself on mute, please? Thanks. So at the outset, which book appeals to you? I mean, have you, read these books or, seen these books, covers? Or would you like to suggest any other book that we should be considering?
TG, the culture code is in my to read list, and it's in my rack to be opened.
Okay. So when you pick this for the book club, you will be compelled to open, Babu.
Very much delighted to.
Yeah. The other books are also equally good. Principles is a very good book suggested by Divakar. Good to Great, we already discussed in this book club meeting, but nevertheless, a great book for people who are in the career and business to go through as a discussion. There's one thing, to go through the book all alone, and another thing completely different in terms of discussing with like-minded people who are going through the book and extract the maximum out of it through discussion like this. The 4 Disciplines of Execution is another wonderful book about lag and lead measures of how to go ahead implement. There are a lot of books on strategies, but very few books, very few books on execution. So this book is on the execution. Culture Code and the Talent Code are by the same author, so it resonates the theme. It's a very good book. And Multiplier is another amazing book on how to. It's a leadership book on how to go with the team in order to multiply your organization's growth. I would put this on the group so that you can select which of these 3 books can come up. Some pointers about this is this called a business discussion series. So there'll be 3 books that will be selected for January, February, March, and this will be discussed. This will be around the same thing. It's not that every month you'll be discussing 1 book, but we will be discussing all the 3 books together so that we will try to get the maximum out of that particular theme. So there'll be 3+1 meetings spread over 3 months. So it will be on 16th, January, which is second Saturday, 13th February, and 13th March, and then 27th March, which is the 4th Saturday also. The same book will be taken. Same 3 books will be taken for discussion, which will be an open meeting. The 16th Jan, 13th February, and 13th March, those second Saturday meetings alone will be closed meetings. It will be only by registration. Those people who are keen and interested. It's not an open book club meeting like this, where we are not sure whether people will come, not come, and it's not. So even if it is 8 people, 10 people, 12 people, 20 people, 40 people, whatever it is, those people will come, and we will make a concentrated effort in order to extract the maximum out of these books and see how we can go and implement and come and share in the next meeting. And that's how these meetings will be. So apart from that, the open book club meeting on the 4th Saturdays will continue as usual. And those people who are interested only to attend that, you're welcome to do so. You will be part of the group. Please send me the, ping me your phone number. I'll be able to send an invite to you, WhatsApp invite, so that you can come and join.
TG, can I add a few points on this business book discussion, TG?
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, one key message which I would like to share it on this business discussion is few books really we need to read, and we have to apply these books in our daily life, whatever they're learning. So that's the whole objective in 2021, to choose three books. One may be related with execution, another may be on the business values like principles, and we are all working with people, so multipliers have been chosen. And the culture code is all about on how to set a culture for our organization. Talent code is how to manage people. So it is all about on different ways where we can apply these principles in our business. That's the reason where we really want to bring it. And TG has created a brilliant model where we are discussing based on the themes so that we can apply it in our business. So it's a brilliant idea, TG. Thanks. And one more point which I would like to share it over here is from my experience as part of Alchemist Book Club is we need real case studies. Did we apply some of the learnings from the book club in our daily life? That would be the biggest takeaway and happiness for us as part of Alchemist Book Club. So that is what is the whole intention of changing it in this format. So I thought I can share this intention behind this, or why we are moving towards in that direction. Otherwise, our book club meetings become an intellectual entertainment for all of us. So to create it as an action plus intellectual curiosity is what we're really looking forward towards on book club.
Well said, Divakar.
TG, just a suggestion. I mean, that's a brilliant point what Divakar told now about sharing. I think in each meeting or in the rendu meeting our meeting in a month, there should be at least 15-20 minutes slot where people can come out and share what are the meeting that they attended. It can be a very prescribed script or something. It can be like 30 seconds or 1 minute sharing, where in the meeting when I learned about this book and I applied this kind of thing, they can share it in a very short way. They can share it like my thing today's. I'll start with my thing. I started reading that Limitless, which you introduced in the club, and a lot of thing about brain and my way of thinking pattern and the lies that I tell to myself, the myths. So idellame maathittu irukku conscious ave, and it's working brilliantly. And it's an amazing. Thanks for introducing that book. And other thing is the power, the one thing, the first book which we did, and also the Power of Now, where Divakar did a thing. And other than the concept that I've been applying, since Power of Now, I stopped touching my phone after getting up in the morning. I mean, whenever morning chores mudichittu office kalamba 9:30 only, I pick up the phone. So it is there. I just don't touch the phone. Morning kuda Swami solitana. So I could able to accomplish more things in the morning. So these are the few learning that I'm applying. So I started with my sharing. Maybe next meeting somebody else can share. Thanks.
Just one clarification, PJ. Need one clarification. In the group, you had mentioned that the fourth Saturday we'll have books about fiction, history, psychology, health, and all. So I was just wondering, if it's going to be only business books which you have mentioned, or would you be discussing? Would be allotting 1 week for books of other things also, not just self-development books.
The fourth Saturday will be for any other book not related to business. So it's like. It could be spiritual, it could be self-development, it could be health, it could be regional, it could be about poetry, it could be about history, fiction, it could be anything.
Okay, Tish, thank you.
I want you to get that.
This is like a special interest group, Prem. So we found that some business owners, people who are coming over here, so we thought that it would be. So tomorrow, if we are having more people towards on Sandilyan or Punniyin Selvan kind of a thing, then we will have one Saturday's block it for Tamil regional to take it forward. It's again based on the members in our group. We just thought that this would be an appropriate for us to take it forward, and we really want to expand it in that way.
Fair enough, sir. Thank you.
Brilliant. I hope everybody enjoyed today's session, and then your continued interest in reading the books and definitely discussing about them would be very helpful for you, your family, your colleagues, your people in the organization. So keep doing. There is enough stuff that is available in the world. What we've learned is just a little bit. And that's why this journey, what we have been talking in this today's meeting, is so exciting, not just on money making, but also the knowledge and the growth and discussion with the like-minded people like all of us are here on. Thank you for joining today's meeting. Yes, Sata.
Yes, I mean, just I believe in seeing people. So somebody's talking, when they're talking, they can switch on the video so that I can able to see them, see their expression, their eyes. So I can able to enna feeling kuda express பண்றாங்கன்னு என்னால I can enjoy that conversation. So it's just a request. If you're comfortable, you can switch on the video. Otherwise, it's okay.
அம்மா இல்ல நான் அக்செப்ட் பண்ணிக்கிறேன். நான் பிரேம் முகத்தை பார்த்ததே இல்ல சட்டா.
பிரேம் வீடியோ ஆன் பண்ணுங்க.
பிரேம் நீங்க வந்து இட்லி தோசை பத்தி எல்லாம் போடுறீங்க, நீங்க வந்து சமோசா பத்தி எல்லாம் போடுறீங்க. We want to see your face.
I am too very much interested. வாழக்கா பஜ்ஜி விட்டீங்க.
Let me become a bit more presentable, TG. So
the advantage of Zoom is that you can camouflage yourself and then you can observe others. You know, that is the biggest advantage of this platform.
I prefer being in the background itself. And seriously, I wouldn't mind on months which have a 5th Saturday, we should have one session just for food and discussion about books about food and food. That's it.
Sure. I'm there. I'm the first fan of that.
Well, sure.
After long many years, I'm seeing Damu முகத்தை பார்த்து திருமுகத்தை பார்த்து ரொம்ப நாள்.
தாமு ஆன் பண்ணிட்டீங்களா வீடியோ? வெரி குட் தாமு.
TG, like I just want to share my experience on the learning, as Mr. Sata was saying. I had read 1 or 2 books in my lifetime related to management or something like that till I joined this book club. But the Ikigai was the first book discussion which I joined in. After which, like I think 6 to 7 books I have finished, and like 2 are waiting for me to read. So such was the impact of this book club, where like like I took the titles from whatever it's been posted by the members, like in the WhatsApp group, and as such regarding implementation, definitely like I'm implementing like the 5 AM club, which I like it was close to my heart as I started to do something on my weight loss and stuff like that, and also in the disciplining the way like I need to move towards my future related to wealth or something like that. Like that book proved to me much more an eye opener how to discipline the entire life. So I think the books like showed me, this book club showed me another route where we can learn things and like we can shape up ourselves in our life. So I'm very much thankful and very much delighted to stay for a longer run in this group.
Now let's make a difference through the books and
TG, one more request.
Yeah. Tell me
அடுத்த தடவை போகும்போது மூஞ்சி கொஞ்சம் லைட் போடுமா. நீ ரொம்ப இருட்டா இருக்க, நீ உன்னுடைய அந்த பளபளக்கிற முகம் தெரிய மாட்டேங்குது.
நீ வீடியோவே ஆன் பண்ண மாட்டே.
இத பாரு, இப்பதான் தக்காளி மாதிரி இருக்கு பாக்குறேன்.
தாமு டிஜிக்கு பின்னாடி தான் லைட் இருக்கணும்.
சொல்ல வந்த அடுத்தது எவ்வளவு நாள் தாங்க அந்த பின்னாடி லைட்டே பாக்குறது.
ஓகே ஓகே, அபிஷியலா மீட்டிங் ஓவர். எல்லாருக்கும் நான் சொல்லிக்கிறேன், ஏன்னா வந்து இப்போ வந்து வேற டிஸ்கஷன் ஓடிட்டு இருக்கு. ஓகே
சரி ஓகே. Anyway, it was a nice meeting, TG. Thanks a lot for your initiative. நல்லா இருந்துது. It was very informative.
So downside of buying a book for just $10 is only you lose $10. But what if the $10 book has some life-changing principles which you're going to apply for the entire life? So the upside of the investment on the book is really high. The downside risk is so low. This is not said by me. In one of the book I read. So books are a beautiful investment, and taking off time in order to invest in a book club meeting like this, okay, is another beautiful investment on time. Definitely, there's
one more doubt. In the audio book, what is your recommendation on this book?
கேளு
ஆடியோ புக்ஸ் இப்ப இதுவே வந்து ஆடியோ புக்காவும் இருக்கு, கேட்கலாம் இல்லையா?
யாரும் கேளு கேளு. வீட்ல சமைச்சு செய்யணுமா இல்ல வெளிய ஃபாஸ்ட் ஃபுட் சாப்பிடணுமா?
ஓகே,
அது மாதிரிதான். I am enjoying audio books now.
அப்படியா? நான் ரைட், ஓகேமா.
Try one or two books.
ஓகே, ஆடியோ புக் ஏதாவது லிங்க் இருந்தா அனுப்பிச்சு விடுறேன்.
Sure.
இல்ல இப்ப இந்த புக்குக்கு ஒரு நல்ல என்ன யூடியூப்ல போனா எக்கச்சக்க ஆடியோ புக்ஸ் இருக்கு. யூ ட்ரை டு ரெக்கமெண்ட் மீ a good audio book.
இந்த புக்குக்கா? சரி, ஓகே, I'll come to you.
இருந்தனா say anything. Okay, even okay,
if book reading is hard, it's going to take
anyway, good teaching.
My is to read the summaries, and then you start with the book. And
something called 4-minute book. 4-minute Divakar சொன்னது. I use that.
Summary படிச்சிட்டு இந்த மீட்டிங் வந்தனா you'll be able to get the maximum out of this, because most of the points today, thanks to Babu also brilliantly lot of
I just wanted to share, like as I started reading now only, in fact, like முதல்லலாம் ஏன் புக் படிக்கல அப்படின்னா வந்து பொறுமை இல்லை, ஐயோ இவ்வளவு பெரிய புக்கை படிக்கணுமான்ட்டு. But naturally, like then I started trying out the audio book and the in fact PDF format audio books எல்லாம் ட்ரை பண்ணும்போது என்ன இருந்ததுன்னா, audio book PDF like already used to gadgets அதுலயே பார்க்கறோம், அதனால வந்து I didn't like it. I want to take a diversification. And audio books ன்னு சொல்ல வந்து you go into the tone and mood set of the person who is speaking. பட் நம்ம புக் நம்ம படிக்கும் போது வந்து நம்மளுக்கு ரிலேட் பண்ணி நம்மளோட மூட் செட்ல வந்து நம்ம படிச்சோம்னா நம்மளோட அந்த acceptance and learning வந்து is much more. அதனால வந்து I started to buy physical books rather than listening to audio books. My personal experience.
And there is a huge audience, just for listening to the gist and the crux of the books by way of stories. It could be, by way of storytelling, which I have started recently, or for take any book for example. With the time being a premium nowadays, very few people have the inclination or the proclivity to go and say, yes, let me go and read a book. But then there are so many people are always eager to consume content. But then the problem is whether they have the time, or it's easy to say make time, but then there are so many people who would actually want it in encapsulated, like Mr. Satta was saying, it's like a 4-minute overview synopsis. And there are so many things which I'm personally doing. I'm involved in a little pet project of mine, which I should see some light in another month or so, where I'm taking short stories of great Tamil literature, modern Tamil literature, and and narrating them in my own way to people, and it has received a great response. I initially thought people will not like it, but then they were, and that is actually provoking them to go and reading the original text in the original book in the language. So, which is success in itself. So, அதுவும் வந்து ஒரு நல்ல விஷயம் தான். So, as long as there are people who would like to consume content, the medium does not matter in my opinion. அவ்வளவுதான் என்ன பொறுத்த வரைக்கும்.
Yeah. Keep up the good work, friend. It's a beautiful initiative.
Thank you, TG. Thank you.
I want to listen to you also. And I think it's 4:46, 16 minutes past. And thank you so much for all of you who come and brilliantly shared your views and things. So thanks for your learnings. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you, TG. Thanks a lot, TG. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thanks everyone.
Thank you, TG. Good day all. Bye bye.
Thank you all.